Oh boy.
I feel like a sinner, but...
Alright. Hello, Steve.
Hi, Steve.
And anybody else who might
Did
be
you
watching.
press record?
For some reason, yes.
Okay, that's good.
Alright. I will be teaching Kaya here, who has never held a saxophone.
It's true. I've never even seen a saxophone.
How to do something with the saxophone, maybe. So, as you can see, we are moistening our reeds here. Important things to do, because if we don't, they won't make noise. Certainly not good noise. Now then, usually, if we're like setting up, we'll take the saxophone, we'll put it on first. We'll get to that in a minute. What we're going to start off with is our neck here. And so what we do with our neck here is we take our mouthpiece here. Look, we have two different ones. And we go whoop onto the end there where the cork is. And so when we are doing that, I put my reed down here. When we are doing that, we want to make sure we're not mashing that octave thingy there, because we don't want to break things. And so you put a little cork grease on there, and then you just kind of slide it on there, and that needs more cork grease, but I think I forgot mine. So, if I were a good teacher, I would have more cork grease, but I do not. So, whilst trying to not mash too many things, slide that on there a little bit. And then, generally you want to hold it kind of up there, again, without trying to mash that too much, is the idea. Yeah, just kind of wiggle it on there some. Alright, there we go. We have a mouthpiece on a saxophone. Show the class. Look, class. Okay, so now with our moistened reed, we are going to attach it to the mouthpiece. So, on your mouthpiece, you have a different ligature than mine. I have my fancy little metal top screw one. Kaya has her normal metal one. So, with the normal metal ones, what we are doing is our two little screws here. We'll just kind of undo those. Unscrew, unscrew, so they are nice and loose. And then the flat bottom part of your reed there, that bit right there, that bit, yeah, see, here we go, goes on the flat part of the mouthpiece. There you go. And you might have to loosen that off a little bit more. Now I'm going to do the same thing with mine, but with my fancy ligature thingy. So, it helps to slide it up some. To slide the ligature up some. And then you tuck it in there. There you go. And then, you don't want to be bending it or forcing it too much. So if there's anything like that, then just loosen it off. And we can tighten up the ligature in a minute. So, you loosening it or tightening it?
Tightening a little bit.
Okay, so don't tighten quite yet.
Okay. Untightening.
So where we want the ligature to be is just below that little U there, that little dip. So there's the little dip right there. We want it to be just below that. And the reed, we want to be just below the tip of that. So like just a little tiny bit below the tip of that. And so like I make sure you wash your hands beforehand, but I just kind of tap it there and make sure that it's just below that, and then you want your ligature to be just below that little U thing there. Yeah?
Like that?
Yeah. You can even bring the reed up a little bit more so that you're not pushing too much. There you go. Alright, now you don't want your ligature too tight.
I turned it.
Because then, that's the other thing, is it will tend to shift a little as you tighten your ligature up. And you don't want that too tight, so then it's going to restrict the movement of the reed, and that is not what you want.
I completely unscrewed it, so I'm going to screw it back in a little bit.
Okay, that's good. Alright. So, now, we are going to attach the neck to the saxophone, and then we are going to detach the mouthpiece from everything. And we'll work with the mouthpiece for a minute. So, we have our very fancy strap here. Ooh, fancy. Not fancy. Okay? Now then, I'll show you how to do this first, and then you can give it a go. So, get our neck strap on here. It's not the most comfortable thing in the world. Pick our saxophone up. Ooh, saxophone. And this little hook back here is where our little thingy goes. So we go clip, and then it won't fall down. Mostly. That might need to be a little bit tighter. It's okay, we can just tighten that up some. But we can get that in a minute. So, the other thing you will notice I have in is this little end plug here. Look, good student, Steve, end plug. So the end plug is so that when it is sitting in the saxophone case, it is not moving around too much, but also this little octave key here, as you can see, sits above that little bit there. So, that's interesting. Look, end plug with no foamy, Steve. That's new. Problem solving already. Okay, there's the foamy. Foamy. Got it. So.
It looks like Marge Simpson.
It is. It's Marge Simpson. Okay, so we'll just stuff that back on there. That was fun. Okay, how your end plug is actually supposed to look. So, end plug goes in there and it goes defloof, and then you take it out and it floofs. It's great. So, when it is out, you can see that our octave key here sits above the end. But when end plug is in, then it's there and it's protecting the end plug from getting mashed, or the octave key from getting mashed. So, we take Marge Simpson out. Can put her in the case for now.
Bye, Marge.
Bye, Marge. And then, so usually it'll be down here. Some people like to play it out here. You know, if you're standing, you know, whatever. So then we take our neck here, woo, and we just simply go. It shouldn't be too tight. Just needs to slide in a little. Now these you don't really want to tighten up. You don't want the screws to be like falling out, but you don't want that to be tight. Like you want that to be able to move, and you should really just be able to kind of wiggle it out a little bit and wiggle it back in. And you should be like that. So, hold that for a minute. Now, we let you do it.
Okay.
So, we put Marge back in. Here we go. Here you go, Marge. Alright. And then, here's our saxophone. Put it down again without bumping any buttons. I'll hold that for a minute.
Okay.
Here. Put that down. Here's the neck strap.
Let's see if I can get this over the glass.
And here we go. Oh yeah, the glasses.
Yep.
There we go. Alright, we're good. Alright, give that a little bit of a tighten. You just be able to kind of pull it up. Yeah, there you go.
We're going.
Yeah.
It's real.
Alright, so there we go.
Oh.
Just kind of try and grab it without the keys. There we go.
Yep.
Then we clip onto the little clippy-doo.
Oh.
There you go. They're much nicer clippies than that, but oh well.
Clipped. Should I take?
Here we go. Yeah, we'll take Marge out.
Oh. There she goes.
There we go. Alright. Ta-da. And now, we put our neck in. However, it's comfortable. Just try not to bash the buttons. Yeah, there you go. Perfect.
Winkling.
So yeah, we want to try not to hit that. Now, the one thing we do need to make sure of as this is going on is the octave key there that we were talking about before just needs to be able to hit that.
Yep.
Other than that, that can really be at whatever angle you want.
Okay.
So then once we'll get to actually kind of blowing into the horn in a minute. But yeah, and then we'll kind of adjust neck strap height and then kind of figure out if you want to be out here. Out here is usually a little bit easier than out here, at least to start. That's usually how most people start. So we can go out there, we can figure out the angle of your mouthpiece. That'll need to go down a little bit.
Yeah.
And so when you're holding it, your thumb down the bottom there's that little loopy down there. That's basically just pushing it out some, right? So, for example, if we were to stand up, and you're holding it more out here, right? If it was off to the side, basically your thumb is just pushing it so that the mouthpiece is coming towards your face, right? You're not like holding it down there, you're not supporting it off your thumb, you're basically just kind of pushing it out some. That's all you're doing. Alright, so in the meantime, bring you back down here. We can actually, here I can take that. If you want to unclip, I can take that for now. There we go. And if you want to pop the neck off, yeah, it might just need to, yeah, angle's a little tricky with that sometimes. And we'll put Marge back in. And so were we putting it away after we were playing, that's basically how we would take it apart, except we have our little clothy thingy here. It's got a little weight on it. You just put it through either end, really. You pull it through, get some of the water out. And we'll do that in a couple minutes. We'll put that down. Alright, so for now, we'll take the mouthpiece off of the neck. And we are going to try to make some noise. Try being the keyword. Ah, yes.
How do I get it off?
So, yeah, you just kind of wiggle it off. It needs more cork grease here.
Grab it.
Grab it. Yeah, it's all good. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So maybe a little tighter than that, so that it's holding.
Yeah.
But yeah. So it should be holding. It just, you don't want it to. You don't want to be like reefing on it. So basically, once you're having to put like more than just like a little bit of finger tight in there, you should be pretty good. And then yeah, it might shift a little as we pop it off there, mostly because it's not a great ligature. But there we go. All right, so make sure that's nice and wet. Now, on the tenor saxophone, playing just the mouthpiece, we should get a G. So basically, you want teeth on top, really relaxed kind of face. So the way that we always kind of talked about it was like bus stop embouchure, right? So if you're kind of just like sitting there, just kind of saying things, and you know, staring at stuff, and you just mouthpiece in. So you don't want it too far in. It looks like, yeah, there you go. That might be a little bit better. Let's get your teeth on top, bottom lip, little bit over your teeth, but you don't want to be like biting it, but you just want it kind of like rolled back a little, and then. Now, these reeds are a little harder. These are 3 reeds. They're not super open mouthpieces, so they shouldn't be too bad. I personally have not been very good at getting a sound just out of the mouthpiece. However, the theory is should be teeth on top, pretty close to the tip of the mouthpiece. You know, you don't want to be, eating the thing. And then yeah, lots of diaphragm support, which you know lots about. Edge of your chair, all that kind of thing, so that you're not slumped over. And then should. Okay, so close.
How do I?
So basically, you're just making that vibrate, right? Mm-hmm. So you need a little bit of pressure on the bottom, right? So teeth on top, a little bit of pressure on the bottom. Whoop. Now, just the mouthpiece with the tenor can be a little bit tricky. Once it's in the horn, it's a lot easier. Like for the first little bit, like I was getting nothing out of this. It was just that. And then once it was into the horn, I was getting a lot more sound out of it, right? So, looks like your lips over here might be a little bit tight. So just like really, really relaxed. Ooh, that's sharp.
No.
That's okay. So, we'll throw it into the horn in a second. As you can hear, though, I was getting a little bit sharp. So basically what you want to be doing there is you want to be kind of like opening up the back of your throat almost. You want to be like kind of relaxing the back of your throat. As singer, you know a whole lot about that.
Just gonna keep breathing.
It's all good. All right, so let's throw it back on the horn.
Nope.
And see what we can do with getting some sound out of that, because that should be a little bit easier.
Okay.
So throw that in there. This background music is quite nice. I don't know if you can hear it. It's good stuff. All right, so I'll hold that for a second.
Should I make this a little bit?
Maybe a little lower. That looked possibly a little high. So try there for now. We can adjust it once it's on there. So we'll grab that. Get a strap on so it doesn't fall on the ground, hopefully. There we go. And then, what are we doing there? That's all good. We'll figure that out in a second. So long as you're not like harping on any buttons, it's fine. Like, I mean, you know, basically just kind of keep it from falling over. So then we're end plug out. Marge Simpson. Go in there, and then neck in there, ideally without squishing things. There we go. Yeah, and you can even kind of get from there, just so long as we're trying not to batch too much. All right, good. So as I said, usually off to the right, left hand up. Yeah. All right, so that looks a little bit high. So you shouldn't be, you know, some of your tone and some of your tuning is going to come from here, right? So if you're up like that, then that's going to be straining everything in here. If you're down like that, that's going to be affecting things. So basically, you should just be sitting straight, and it should just kind of come up. And yeah, pretty much like that. That looks pretty good. Might be a teeny little bit high, but I don't know that it's a huge deal. No, it's going to be a little bit. Yeah, see, that's too low now. Yeah.
Maybe there.
Give that a shot. Little low. Taking the time to make sure the ergonomics of things is good, especially when so you want to make sure that everything is working as much to your advantage as possible and nothing is working against you.
There.
Pretty good here. Try that. That's a little better. Alright. So again, bus stop embouchure, as we say. Teeth on top. A little bit of rolled lip on the bottom over your teeth so that you can kind of get a little bit of pressure on that reed, just so you have something that it's vibrating against. And then,
That's not a sound.
Alright, so try taking a little bit more mouthpiece. And try rolling your lip in a little bit more and putting just not biting on it, but just like bringing your jaw up a little bit, right? Like don't think about biting it, but a little bit more pressure in between your jaw and the top of your teeth. These mouthpieces are a little bit open, so they might be a little bit tricky. Interesting. That's okay. All right. So take mouthpiece out and try and do with your mouth what you were doing before the mouthpiece was in.
It's like rolled.
Yeah, it looks kind of stupid. That's okay. Yeah. Yeah, basically. And so how much is your jaw coming up? Like how much pressure are you kind of putting on the reed? Because you should be able, again, you shouldn't be biting, but you should be able to feel your teeth kind of going into your lip a little bit. Like there should be some pressure there for sure.
Maybe not enough pressure.
Try a little bit more. See what happens. It sounds like it's getting closer though. I can hear that kind of trying to work. Yeah, no, it's okay. So yeah, I mean the only problem there is obviously that it's going through that gap, right, where the reed and the mouthpiece are, but there's no vibration happening there, right? So try coming like out right to the tip basically, and basically have the edge of the inside of your lip, right? So the bit of your lip that's inside your mouth. Try and have that kind of right on the edge of the reed. Not right on the edge, but like pretty close. Okay, so then from there, just move in a little bit by little bit, because out there you're not going to get any noise, right? If you're right out there, and then just kind of work your way in little by little and see if you can get some sound from there. There you go. So try a little bit more in from there. There we go. All right. Now, let's fix that for one thing. All right, so your thumb there, and just seeing.
Oh, yeah.
So I was just like, you're just kind of holding it. All right, so your thumb there should go on the octave key.
Okay.
Right, so there's the octave key, and then there's kind of a rest position there. And then everything else.
Oh, I can't make a noise anymore.
Should just. No, it's okay. We'll come back to that in a second. So then everything else should basically just fall onto the buttons, right? So there's kind of 1, 2, 3, and then there's your pinky down there on all of those funky little keys.
Oh, jeez. I got small hands.
All right, so here, let's bring it up so it's not down there.
Okay.
So that it's a little easier to grab onto. But then, yeah, here, so it might help if you can kind of see it. So basically, it should feel pretty natural, right? So it's mostly on the white buttons, right? So you're there, and then that's your pinky's all for all of this fancy nonsense down there. So it should feel pretty natural, right? You shouldn't be stretching too much. I mean, yeah, you get smaller hands, but should be okay. This is Erica's saxophone. She's also got pretty small hands.
Okay.
So yeah, on those 3 white buttons, on the big ones, there's that little one in there that does some other funky things sometimes, but we're not going to worry about that too much. Okay. So those ones on there, and then down here, again, your thumb under there, and that's not holding anything up, but it's mostly just pushing it out. And then same thing, just on all of the white ones, and then your pinky down there is for those little pads. I don't know how much you can see here, but there we go. Ho, 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 ho. All right. So we'll make sure that we're holding that right, because that'll help. But there was some sound coming out of there, so that is good. And we'll try and get some more sound out of the saxophone, but whilst holding it properly. So yeah, there you go. Perfect. And then yeah, so that'll get a little easier once you're kind of down. The angle will make it a little bit better. And then top one there, there, perfect. Great. And then where's your thumb there? Perfect. All right. So now if we get back down into where that was kind of holding before, it's all good. So there we go, and we don't need to be pushing that down too much. There we go, and then you kind of push out some. Perfect. All right, so now the other thing we can do is we can try and adjust that a little bit so it's a little more flat to you, which will make it a little bit easier. So again, if you're not getting any sound, if you know about where you were before, then kind of try and start from there. But you can either work your way in, or you can start from way too far in. Way too far in might get you some kind of squeaks, though, and that's not really what you want to be dealing with all the time. Woo! Alright, that's way up there. So try a little bit more pressure again on that bottom lip. That's all good.
Wet.
Yeah, you do get some moisture in there, especially as you're just kind of blowing. So, no, it's all good. So let's start again with that. So mouthpiece out. Kind of think about what you're doing without the mouthpiece in your mouth, and try and do it without it in your mouth. And you just kind of lip over, right? Should be over the edge of your teeth, and then this lip shouldn't be over your top teeth at all. That should just be on the mouthpiece.
Okay.
Right? And then you're over that. My lip is about there, right? You can kind of see where it's wet, so my lip's about there. It's about a half an inch in. All right. Oh, it's coming. Hang on. No. That was getting something out of it though. So try. So whatever you were just doing, wherever you were, try getting a little bit more pressure on the bottom. There you go.
That was a sound.
That was a sound. Is that being? Yeah, no, it's not being pushed. All right. So it's an octave up from where it should be. But no, but that's okay. That's a sound, and that's just kind of practice coming out of there. And so getting that down some will just come with loosening up down here, loosening up the back of the throat a little bit, and kind of opening up at the back of your throat some. But yeah, that's better. It feels a little counterintuitive to be like closing your jaw in on the mouthpiece. But again, you're providing something for that reed to kind of go against, right? If you're just kind of blowing into it, then yeah, it'll. But if you're getting something under there, which that wasn't the right note, but then you're providing something for it to actually vibrate against, right? So give that one more shot. Let's see if we can get another sound out of there, and then we'll kind of tear down. Yeah, not a loud sound, but it's a sound. It's cool. So here, let me see for a sec, and I'll kind of show you like where it's supposed to be sounding. But no, that was good. That was getting there, and that was getting a sound when there was not sound before. Oh, all right. Here, pop your mouthpiece off of there, which usually we would do with the neck, but that's okay. And then if I could steal the neck strap, just so I don't throw this anywhere. Go. Get that on. We'll get that on there. And then, yeah. So once you have a little bit more on there, it's a little easier with the horn on there to get a sound out of it. The first little bit, I wasn't getting any sound out of just the mouthpiece at all. And then. Something sounded funny in there. But so even once you get down there, the other thing that you'll find is you were getting the octave up. Once you get down lower, and once you start closing up the saxophone more, it'll tend to jump up the octave even when you're not hitting the octave key. And again, what I've found is that's just kind of loosening everything up, but still while keeping that pressure, which is really hard to do. It's really hard to loosen things, but keep certain things really tight. It's tricky to do, and it just takes some practice. But that's the general idea. You have now played a wind instrument. So there we go.
My first one.
There we are.
Not counting recorder.
Recorder sort of counts. All right, so now tear down is, as I said, just opposite of what we did before, and we will definitely make sure to swab because there's a lot of water in there probably. So neck off first, and that shouldn't be too hard because those really shouldn't be tightened up at all. So we'll put that down for a second to make sure you're not bashing your mouthpiece or your reed at all when you're doing that. Nope.
Swab.
We're gonna swab. There we go. All right. So with our little swabby here, most of these, or at least the good ones, should have weights on them. Some of them don't. Those are not useful because then you're just trying to pull something through that doesn't want to go through. So we stuff all that in there, and then we very carefully, without throwing it on the floor, get that to hopefully come out of there. You can kind of feed it through, and it comes through, and then you just go whoop. Now, where I'm holding it is I'm just kind of balancing it in that little bit there, so that you kind of have a good hold on it. Yeah, exactly. So you have a good hold on it. There's a bit to grab onto there where you're not hitting any of the buttons. And so we'll do that again if you wanna get that in there. Kind of stuff that in there, and flip it over, and then it should just kind of come out. But then if it doesn't, you kind of reach up, make sure it's not getting all clogged or anything, and then just feed it through until it comes out. And there we go. That should be good for now. And then take our little horn here, put Marge Simpson back in. Yeah, we'll wrap up our thingy. Put Marge back in so that we are not bashing the octave key. Goes back in there. And then I'll take this off because it's my germs and whatnot. Again, without kind of messing with anything, pop that off of there. You'll get a little bit of spit in there too. So you can also
Oh, I tied it back up.
run
already.
this. No, it's all good.
I was being efficient.
It's all good. So you can kind of run this through there real quick as well. You want to kind of be careful with this because it's a little bit thinner. And so you want to make sure you're not damaging anything. And also that, again, you're not bashing that octave key. That should be fine. We'll put that away. Get in there. There we go. And then the mouthpiece you kind of want to rinse out a little bit because, again, you'll get some spit in there. But we'll pop our reed off. Your little plastic things on top of the piano there. You can put that in. Mine down there for now. And we just take that off. There we go.
Spit.
And then, yes, and then we can tighten back up the ligature. Again, it doesn't need to be too tight, but we'll tighten it back up some.
Should I put it back in this?
So, yeah, throw it back in there. So with these, getting it back in there so that it doesn't break, easiest way to do it is the bottom bit goes down there. So if you get the bottom bit in, which is the thickest part, it'll kind of open up the rest of it, and then that should just kind of be able to slide in the rest of the way. And then that's nice and in there, nice and protected, and it shouldn't be too bad. So yeah, if you get the bottom in, that one's not great. You kind of got to wiggle it in some. There you go. If the bottom gets a little bit dinged up, it's not nearly as big a deal as if the top gets dinged up. And then I will sometimes take this and just kind of wipe this out a little while I can before I go and rinse it out so it's not dripping on me all the way down the hall. If you want to do that a little bit. Yeah, that'll be good. Alright, then...
Should I take the ligature off?
No, we leave the ligature on. Ligature can stay on. So yeah, leave the ligature on there. Tighten that up. Doesn't need to be super tight. The ligature should never ever be like really tight. It should basically just be holding on whatever is on there. In this case, it's just itself. So that goes on there. And then to make sure that the mouthpiece isn't getting dinged up, we take our little thing here, and there's a little opening that goes over this groove part of the ligature, and then that goes in our saxophone case. And there we are. Mouthpiece is put away. Thank you, Kaya, for putting up with me, and saxophone, and Erica for loaning me the saxophone, and Steve. Thank you, Steve. Hope you've enjoyed this, and yeah, thank you.